Turn that first knob down. No, right, right. Not all the way. Maybe if I get in front of the mic, get away from the speaker. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good morning. We're running 5 minutes behind, but I'm hoping, are my vendors down here? If you're doing an exhibit, can you come up, please? Just want to do a little housekeeping real quick. Good morning, LU students from the southeastern part of the state of Missouri. Good morning.
I'm gonna have to try to find you.
How was Just Wolf last night? Y'all like it? All right. So what was our word? Smart is what? Smart is the new. Y'all done came in here, ate my pancakes, and forgot everything y'all talked about last night. Can we try it again? Smart is the new what? Smart is the new rich. All right. So I'm hoping that my vendors are here. Missouri S&T, UMKC, you guys come up. We'll start with you. Just come up and tell them where you are and what your activity is.
Hey, how's everybody doing? So my name is Mohammed El-Sheikh. I am a graduating senior from Missouri S&T studying engineering management. So we partner with the Comar College on campus. So they kind of cater towards the K through 12 STEM activities. So we have a STEM mobile with a variety of different activities, like interacting with the VR. I'm not sure what the other two activities are, to be honest with you. But they're really fun, very interactive. Kind of give you the first taste of STEM, so if you never experienced what it would like to be as an engineer. This would be a great opportunity for you to get that first taste. So look forward to seeing you guys take advantage of our workshops. Look forward to meeting you all later. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Mumia Latmesalao. I'm also a graduating student from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. I am studying mechanical engineering, and we are here with the School of Science and Engineering. Down at our booth, we have some big virtual reality goggles, actually augmented reality, so it kind of also takes into consideration your surrounding, the environment. We have some 3D printed, like some toys and kind of different things, 3D printed with different kind of 3D printers, kind of show around, kind of show and tell. So definitely stop by our booth, come learn. We have a lot to talk about, and definitely hope to see you there.
So Kenneth just walked in. They're from Nottoway Holt High School. Past 3 years, we've come down and we've raced RC cars. And we'll convert this room and we'll have race car, RC cars set up. But I want you to tell them about what you're willing to show the teachers and these students of how you use RC cars for math in your STEM classroom.
So, like I said, my name is Kenneth Hamilton, and I believe that we put together a presentation. So I think that we're going to present on the program that we use with our 1080 RC cars, and my students who are competing today in the race, they are going to present that information. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen.
It will be after 11.
After 11, so is when we're going to present that, and at that point you are more than welcome to ask the students or myself questions after they present how we kind of run it in our STEM class at our high school.
Yeah, no, right. You walk in the door and I pull you up on the stage. That's how we roll. Nothing is, everything is real time. So, my man from Minnesota.
There you go.
Hello, hello. So yeah, I'm with Dr. Wolf. We're upstairs as well. We'll be doing some robotics. So BattleBots pretty much is the gist of it. I have 4 robots. How we're gonna work it out? We're gonna have like a mini tournament. If you want to have a solo team, we can figure that out. Or you guys can be together. I'll document you guys in the spreadsheet and have that be win based. So it's best 2 out of 3. We'll figure it all out. But you guys are gonna build some Lego robotics, fight each other. We'll have some music and be really hyped. So please come on by.
Tell them your name.
Yeah, I'm Dave Davidson.
Yep. You may have already. Come on.
Let's go. I think you got already introduced me, but go ahead.
Okay, last time I got the microphone, I was on karaoke.
Let's hear it.
My name is Chris Morales. I represent UMKC, University of Missouri, Kansas City. My booth will be downstairs in the basement, or whatnot, the lower level. And we have AR, augmented reality headsets. We have 3D printed stuff. We got to check out and whatnot. That's it.
All right. Thank you.
All right, you ready? Rockhurst University.
Hi everyone, good morning. So my name is Adelaide Gongara, and I'm here on behalf of Dr. Guatemala for Montepalooza, you can see on my shirt, for Rockhurst University. And so downstairs we have a room set up with many activities for students. It's basically an outreach program where we try to ignite mathematical curiosity and learning into children so they can see it's not as intimidating as it may sound. So we have a lot of fun activities like Trido, Geometons, Hypertiles, and all sorts of activities kids can interact with. So please stop by and we'd love to have you there.
Come on up. Don't hide. Dana, I see you on deck. Come on.
Hello, everyone. We're from Missouri ACT, Comer Center for STEM Education. We brought the STEM-mobile here today. We will be having VR glasses. We have steerable robot where you can code the robot to do several moves. We have several STEM activities today. We are in the basement. Don't forget to visit us.
So the presentation, just so you know, Missouri S&T used to be Missouri Rolla, and they had a very significant role in the National Society of Black Engineers that you're going to hear about. So I wanted to make sure. These next two, the last two, Dana and Blake, they come up from Atlanta. They're going to be a part of our summer camp program. So, Dana, it's your world.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Sarah, and I have a called the Next Step Youth Entrepreneur Program. I spent the last 16 years teaching kids business strategy, but I use my farm to teach business strategy. And the reason why we use the farm is because why is food so important?
We needed to live.
Everybody got to eat, right? And if everybody has to eat, so farming is the biggest industry in the world. You don't have to grow it, but you do have to understand critical thinking, decision-making skills, and understand how your skills impact the entire community. So today, you come down to my workshop. We will do some decision-making and critical thinking activities to help you understand why STEM education is so important. Any entrepreneurs in here? Absolutely, that's great. So come down to when you come down, we will do some activities on critical thinking, decision making, and why it's so important that you understand your skill set and how you can become change makers and leaders in your communities. I look forward to meeting all of you, okay? Bye-bye.
So this next young man, his workshop is actually a working workshop. So all of you will be downstairs with him. and you'll eat lunch and listen to his workshop. But before I bring you up, Blake, that post yesterday, amazing. Please, when you introduce yourself, tell them about that post. All right? Blake,
Hey, good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? Good, good. I'm Blake Stoner. I'm from Atlanta. I run a grassroots news agency called Dingle. We basically help train communities on how to report and help newsrooms expand how they report on overlooked and underrepresented communities. So the post Mr. Wells is saying, I'm someone who comes from a grassroots organizing family, people who work in communities to make impact. My grandfather was one of the original freedom riders in the civil rights movement, and me and the family, he was, this week was invited to the White House and the Capitol to be recognized for his contributions for impacting America. So that's what I guess you wanted to share that. Yeah, it runs in my family. So this is something that we do. But today for my session, we're going to be, anybody in here wants to be a creator, a YouTuber, those kind of things? People want to create content? Okay, I see a whole table over there, cool. So yeah, we're going to be hosting a whole session on how to use creative skills to better report on your community, to help tell the stories that need to be told in your local area and help get those stories to newsrooms and other people before we can start raising awareness of what's going on in different areas. And we're doing a big initiative at Senior Village to help not only teach youth how to report here in Kansas City, but then take that to other cities across the country, especially before the election, because we got a really critical election coming up. But looking forward to talking to y'all.
thank you, Blake. Justin, I had to bring him up last because he was winded from last night. But he is doing a workshop today. And he's going to do a set tonight during our tailgate at the Royals game. Y'all like that? Yeah? Okay. Here you go, Justin. Whoa!
Nice to see most of y'all again. Nice to see some new faces. Yeah, we got some noise complaints at the embassy because we took the house down there. No, I'm playing. I'm just kidding. But my name is Justin Wolf. My stage name is Just Wolf. I'm a senior IT business analyst of 15 years. Been making hip hop music for about 20 years, and just as of recently, in the last 3 years, I've been a content creator on Twitch. It's been really fun. Had a bunch of sponsorships, partners. I was able to travel to LA for like the big old, Xbox showcase that they had all the new games and stuff. So I'll be doing kind of like a what do you call it? Like, here's what you need if you want to start streaming. If you're interested in streaming and content creation, all that stuff. So I'll have like a little bit of my equipment just to show like some of the software and stuff you need. So yeah.
And he's going to play the music when the cars are running, right? No? Okay, yeah. Mario said Christian hip hop. Everybody give him a hand. All right, I'm getting ready to turn this over to our MC, Ray Daniel, KSHB 41, this is the 4th Community STEM Day we've done together. Perfect. So, but I do want to, before she gets this opening session open, I want all of you students, you're going to go downstairs to your workshops immediately. Ms. Amy, you've separated them into 2 groups already? Oh, okay, that's fine. So all of your workshops, morning, afternoon, half and half, and then you will flip after the luncheon workshop, okay? Real quick, this is called Community STEM Day, and I capitalize unity and community, and also capitalize unity and opportunity. This is our church. I buried my late father here. My mother has been serving here. This pastor really talks about community and building community and working together. And what I thought with our Healthy Jackson County Fair, I said, this is a good opportunity for us to do this in the church, because I believe if we can add STEM education to the youth ministries in several churches, then the churches can then have the kids do these brain sport competitions amongst themselves, and that brings community. And again, that root word of community and opportunity is unity. So we hope that when you leave here, you see yourself not as a consumer. Young people, you know what consumer means, right? That means I have to reach in my pocket and pay somebody to solve a problem for me, right? I want you to be a producer. So that means I'm reaching in my pocket and handing you money because you created a solution to my problem. So I want that to be what the takeaway is, and I want the parents to look at their kids and say, yeah, we're gonna make this happen because we see another way. All right? With that, can we get a warm round of applause for Ms. Ray Daniel?
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? Good morning. Well, my name is Ray Daniel. I am a morning anchor, morning reporter at KSHB 41. I've been in the Kansas City area for about 7 years. It'll be 8 in October. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. Yes, I'm a Bengals fan, but I'm also a Chiefs fan as well, so I apologize in advance. But I am so honored to be here. This is an incredible organization. The reason that AC Village holds such a strong place in my heart is because my dad is an engineer out in Cincinnati. He worked for at the time of endo surgery, so he made medical instruments for hospitals in Cincinnati and across the nation. And to know that I'm going to be moderating a fireside chat with some of the co-founders of the National Society of Black Engineers is just incredible. So I'm so excited to get started. But before I start, we are going to pass the mic over to General Gray. He's going to kind of set the stage. So if you want to pass the mic over to General Gray.
First of all, y'all sound like y'all tired this morning. You know, last evening we spent some time talking to this half of the room. Now we got a new group. And since I got a new group, I got to make sure I say something that's different than I did here yesterday. I am a 35-year Army Infantry Airborne Ranger. That's what I did growing up. But I watched this nation change, and I've seen multiple communities. I went to college about 40 miles to the east at the University of Missouri, and this is kind of my other home and my other part of who I am. So the reason I come back is because of Willie Wells, but the reason I'm here is because of the folks that are leaving now. Where y'all going? Okay, they're calling them away. So for the rest of y'all that's here, as we start to look at this day, I want you to think of this day not just as a science, technology, and engineering and arts changing experience. This day is designed to be a life-changing experience. Those young people that I saw them last evening, they're going to be using some tools to help learn how to think. For the rest of you all that's inside of this room, you're going to be, at the very least, participants in helping craft how they do that, or you're going to be, in the other cases, centers of influence to help them change. Now, they've all walked out, but because I've got adults now in this room, I want to make sure that one, you all don't go to sleep on me while we're waiting. So, in the Army, we have a term, it's called HOOR. It means everything but no. So just to make sure you're not going to sleep on me, on the count of 3, I'd like y'all to say HOOR. 1, 2, 3. HOOR! Okay, now you need some coffee downstairs. Bring that upstairs. Yeah, I think there is. But let's try to do it one more time because I want to make sure you're awake because you got some work to do. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. That's close, but it will get woke up too. The 4 things that will help this group really change. The superhighway is very clearly education. That's the superhighway of change. But inside of that, there's a fast lane. The fast lane is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math because it teaches you how to think. It puts the scientific method in the way that they will learn to think. They will see problems and they'll learn how to define the problem. Then they're going to develop an approach to making the change, to finding a better way to ends. But if you think education alone will get us there, then we'll create intellectual idiots. So we've got to change the other part. We've got to also make sure the person that we're training is prepared. That means we need to make sure that we understand that there is no other physical or mental limitation So as you're looking at that young person, make sure you understand that you're looking deeper than what they produced. One of the things our communities need to do is make sure that when we actually look at that young person's physical framework and also those constraints in the house that may be impacting their ability to learn. Because if you do that, it's throwing good rounds after bad, unless you know what else is there. So health and wellness becomes that other piece that we've got to make sure that we're looking at and thinking about as citizens of influence. The third level is that everybody's doing something for a purpose. Are we learning just to be people that were philosophers in life? Those that will look at the esoterics of life so that they can come back and be smart about discussions, or so they can be something at the very end. And usually that ends into a career. And that career so they can sustain themselves. And so as we talk about them, as we're talking about what they're doing, we should be showing them the pathway that it goes to that thing that will help them survive careers. And as they start talking about that, let them know, be honest about what kind of earnings will come from that. And then, oh, by the way, not just what you make at the raw end, but how to build wealth. It's a practical element in the education process. Then you got to make sure you also understand one of the other important pieces. As you're working with them, more often than not, especially in science, my life is built on teamwork. But in science, we have to dissect problems sometimes, and you have to make sure that people can operate as part of a team. So as you're talking to them and coaching them, let them know when they are not being a good teammate, not holding themselves up, not holding their teammates up. Y'all know how it works. How many of you guys did the science projects in high school, and there was always that one person that did nothing, but when the grade was given to the team, they got an A. They said, yeah, they stepped up first. So you got to train. But he pointing at somebody. He pointing at you, man. And we got to train our young people to recognize that everything involves teamwork, and that means to develop a perspective. I'm going to give you a term that is mine. I call it being a collegial competitor. That means that person you're working with, even though you are on the same team, you're trying your best to be the best member of that team and help them at the same time. In the Army, we also got another term called Spotlight Ranger. That's when the person wants to step forward only for the goodness, and then they point out everybody else's faults. Train them while they're working. Train them while they're working to take responsibility. So if they didn't do something right, come forward to it. Because again, I'm Catholic too, so the only people that can out guilt me is a Jewish person. That's it. Okay, so train them to take responsibility, and then to step forward. It becomes easier, and it becomes easier for them to do better, and for the organizations and groups to do better. I should have been talking just to you, but that you taking me now. See, just when I pointed you out, man, you've been stolen. But that's together. So those four things, make sure you understand the superhighway is in fact education. Character development is critical in this process. Make sure that you're teaching them the whole time that you're going through. I've got some very esteemed members of this National Society of Black Engineers to the right. You're going to hear from them later on. But they have integrated that as a critical element in teaching science, technology, engineering, and math, and specifically being engineers. We got to make sure that before we start to assume a person's capability to move forward, we're looking at if there's any physical or mental capability that hasn't been addressed, that needs to be addressed before we continue to move forward. And then lastly, give them that star that lets them know that they can do a career, that they can have a career in that which they like, and then show them what it also will produce for the very end. Mr. William Wells and this team does a tremendous job of reaching out to take care of minority kids from the different parts of this state and different parts of this city. Those of us in this room actually, and those of you that sponsor this, thank y'all very much. Because this is life-changing. More is important, I want you to think of it as a virus. Because every person that we are able to convince and convert will affect at least 2 or 3 others. So I'd like you all to be part of that virus and that viral change that the esteemed village will do. Let's attack today. Thank you all very much. Appreciate you. You stuck around behind.
I did. Thank you, General Gray. Thank you for your service. I now want to introduce Keith Boswell. Keith Boswell got his bachelor's in metallurgical engineering. If I butcher that, Keith, I apologize in advance. He went to the University of Cincinnati, graduated in 1977, an EMBA, Tennessee in 2001. He is one of the founding members of NSBE, first region 4 chair from 1976 to 1977. He authored the NSBE Constitution, and last year he was awarded the Herman Schneider Distinguished Alumni. So let's go ahead and give a round of applause for Keith Boswell.
Okay, somehow we gotta get these slides connected. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So, as I started with, so let's try this again. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right. So, first of all, I really didn't know that I was going to be following the general. So, if I had known that, I probably would stay home. So, you need me to bring this over?
Probably, yeah.
It's probably a lot easier. Okay.
I can flip through them if you, yeah.
I should be, my projector thing should work.
Is this striking range?
There we go. I can see that. But we just wait a second here to we plug in. In the interim, I think those of you that watched the space race this morning, because my lesson today is about history as well. So the first one was the history of Black astronauts. So I'm going to tell you a little story about the Black engineers today. And I hope it'll be interesting for you.
It will be.
Okay.
You spoke like a wrong white.
Okay. Excellent. So the title of my talk this morning is called NSBE Origins. And it's extraordinary people accomplishing, that's the way it's somewhere, or extraordinary things, right? So I pose to you the question today, why is history important? I'm not going to tell you the answer, that's up to you to determine. But it's an excellent question, and I want you to think about it as I go through the information today. So we're going to talk about why NSBE exists, why did it originate at Purdue, who were the pioneers, and what happened at the first conference. And you'll understand a little more. In a nutshell, there was a significantly low rate of graduation amongst Black engineering students in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And due to visionary leadership from the corporate level, the academic level, and the student level, that's how NSBE came to be. And I will also add singular focus and commitment of 134 students from 28 schools. So, I'd like you to join me in my time machine today. So we're going to go back to 1969. Very interesting year. Bread was 23 cents. Gas was 32 cents a gallon. Richard Nixon was president. Sesame Street started. Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. And the first hit by a group that you might know, Jackson 5, 69. I think it was I Want You Back. Also, just as a note, the first ATM in the U.S. was installed in 1969 in New York City. First internet message was sent, and it was not a public internet at that time. It was between two laboratories, national government laboratories, and we were still fighting the Vietnam War. I wanted to introduce you to Art Fletcher. He's known as the father of affirmative action. And he created the revised Philadelphia plan, which was designed to require federal contractors to hire minority engineers, workers. And Art Fletcher was a Republican and was appointed by Richard Nixon, just as a little side note there. So on the college campuses, there was a problem. So at Purdue, 20% of the black engineering freshmen graduated with a degree in engineering. Let me say this one more time. 20% of the black engineering freshmen graduated with a degree in engineering. At my school, the University of Cincinnati, from 1956 to 1969, 7 black students graduated with a degree in engineering. So do the math. That's 13 years, 7 students. So there was a problem. Now the good news, also in 1969, the Dean of Engineering, John Hancock, appointed Art Bond to be the first coordinator for what they called the program for disadvantaged students. Later turned into the minority engineering program in the Department of Freshman Engineering at Purdue. So this is a milestone event. So we're going to fast forward to 71. And Art Bond's been working. So during this time, they had established the Black Cultural Center, which Purdue folks call it the Black House. And in 1971, there were 28 students in engineering, and the freshman class were the first ones to benefit from Art Bond's programs, the tutorial program and the recruitment program, which he called the Top 5. And there were some young men at the time who started at Purdue in 1971. Brian Harris, George Smith, Ed Coleman, who are here with us today.
You need to stand up. Show up. Have to stand up so you can put that face to that gentleman.
So, yeah, they'll look a little,
You're good looking.
younger back
You're
then.
good looking. Don't worry about it.
That was another significant event. And then also in 71, Ed Barnett, along with Fred Cooper and Dr. Arthur Bond, created and organized the Black Society of Engineers, which is really another milestone, certainly at Purdue. Now, in all honesty, there were other programs at other universities that were started during this time frame as well. But we'll get to why Purdue is significant in a moment. In 1972, General Electric called a meeting at the Crotonville Research Center with deans of 44 colleges, deans of engineering from 44 colleges, and quite a few companies. And J. Stanford Smith made the keynote address. And if you look here, it says that 470 Black students graduated in 1972 with, well, it doesn't say the total. The number of engineering graduates in 1972 was 41,000, 470 of which were Black. So once again, it didn't matter. But the key that he said was, industry will not be able to achieve its goals of equality at this rate. So they recognized that there was an issue and wanted to do something about it. Now, as most companies do, their idea was throw some money at it. However, that really wasn't the problem. It wasn't a financial issue. So Dr. Percy Pierre, who was the dean of Howard at the time, told the audience that, well, the money is great, and if you gave me 50 scholarships and 60 jobs, I couldn't fill it. I don't have the students. So the issue wasn't the money. The issue was having qualified students participate in these technical programs. So since he spoke up, he got volunteered to chair a symposium. They went to the National Academy of Engineering, and they agreed to do a program in May of '73. And Lyndon Saline and Dr. Pierre were the people that drove that event. And again, the significance of it was this: Art Bond was there. And so he now became plugged in to the national conversation about the issue of minority students in engineering. I had the absolute pleasure of speaking to Dr. Pierre about 2 months ago. He's 85 now, still sharp, still committed. So important. So back to Purdue. In 1973, the Black Society of Engineers was renamed the Society of Black Engineers with new leadership. Same guys, Brian, George, Ed.
Brian, would you stand up so you can see what you marked?
Pardon?
Stand up so you can see Brian Harris is.
So they had a little more hair back in those days. But anyway, so they took over the leadership of the group and renamed it the Society of Black Engineers. And as it progressed in '74, '75, with this group, they started to create documents, create newsletters. And so this one is the what they call the recruitment brochure, where they put together information for incoming students, so they'd have a document that they could give to the parents, give to the students, tell them about the advantages of engineering at Purdue University. And the second document was, again, nicknamed the resume book. So each, I think it was 67 names in here of all the students in engineering with their backgrounds, majors, etc. And they actually sold this to companies because the demand for Black engineering students was high. And so they used it as a fundraiser and it served, both purposes. So they became producers when we were talking earlier, not consumers. And also they published a newsletter called the Cornerstone. And I want to point this out down at the bottom, I'm sure you can't read it. But basically, in October of '74, they declared that they intended to start a national organization. So I don't know how many 19-year-olds, or 20 years old, to say in print that we're going to start a national organization is significant, right? I didn't go to Purdue. We'll get to the rest of my story in a minute. Anyway, so also during that year, they had the Equal Opportunity Luncheon, where they called in students in the local area, high school counselors, etc., as a recruiting effort. They had a corporate banquet where they invited companies to come in and meet engineering students. And then finally, in the spring of 1975, they did what they said they were going to do. They had a national conference
of Black engineers with students from around the country. So this is a copy of the letter we got at the University of Cincinnati, right, where we were invited. And I want, this is over the signature of Tony Harris, who was the president of the Purdue chapter at the time. But I wanted to call out one of the first paragraph. And this is a sentence that I love to this day. It says, the purpose of this convention is to unite all Black and minority engineering students into one organization with one name, one constitution, and a chapter on every campus, right? So I told Tony a couple of weeks ago that it's the best thing he ever wrote. But because it's one sentence and it says everything, right? And again, this is the thing that still resonates with me 50 years later. Okay, so fast forward to the first conference at Purdue. Basically, it was short and sweet. Now, I know a few of you might have been to nationals or regionals. The national conference today is 4 days, right? This was 1 day. In fact, it was basically 6 hours, right? Friday night was a social event. You've been to national, we have social events. And that hasn't changed. But the true meat of the meeting was on Saturday. And again, we really started at 8 o'clock Saturday morning, greeting, a little explanation of what's going to happen. We met in regional caucuses for a couple of hours, lunch, and we came back together and reviewed the findings from each region, et cetera. And by 4:30, we were headed back home. So we created the National Society of Black Engineers in 6 hours. But it was only because of 2 reasons. Number one, the Purdue chapter was ready. They were well organized, they had a program that we followed, and the participants were focused on what we needed to do that day. We had some discussions, but they didn't go far afield because we had one purpose. You saw the sense earlier. One name, one organization to promote Black engineering. So this is a list, and I apologize, I'm sure it's hard to read, but these are the 28 schools that attended that first conference. There were 67 students from schools other than Purdue that came to this conference. I wanted to point out this one in particular, University of Missouri at Rolla. You were there, right? And furthermore, these are the 4 people that attended from the school, right? So, this is actually this is from I still have this document.
I just wanted to throw out, I'm an alum of Missouri S&T as well for the students. And Floyd Harris was my MVP director at University of Missouri Law when I actually entered UMR as a student. So not only was he there, but he was represented on campus as well. And today I'm actually the executive director of the National Association of Multicultural Engineering Program Advocates, or MEP directors, of which Floyd Harris was a member, supporting this effort we do today. So for me, it started with Floyd Harris.
And so I did want to say that in almost every case, from every school that attended, the folks that came were the founders of their school's organization. So I know that's absolutely true for Cincinnati, and I know it's true for most of the other schools as well. So it's not insignificant because I'm going to speak on behalf of Brother Robinson, who came from Iowa. He tells a story that when they came, they were packing. Because most, if you've not been to Indiana, it's the home of the Ku Klux Klan. The headquarters is in Indiana. So he had heard about the challenge. He also indicated that that's the reason we were done by 4:30. We had to get out when it turned out. I don't know about that being true. But.
I think that was something that was kind of made up.
Well, if you know Joe Robinson, you can understand he sometimes elaborates and expands. I'm not going to be much longer, so I want to make this key point though. Another connecting point with Purdue. The previously we talked about the National Academy of Engineering. And so as a result of that symposium in '73, they created two committees. One was called NACME, the National Advisory Council on Minorities in Engineering. The other one was the Committee on Minorities in Engineering. What's the difference? Well, NACME was comprised of 80 CEOs, General Electric, General Motors, Xerox, RCA, Amoco, etc. And so they were kind of an executive level organization. And this committee was elected as the working committee. And so Dr. Pierre was the vice chair, and Art Hansen, who was the president of Purdue University, was the chair of the committee. So let me say one more time, he wasn't on the committee. He wasn't the dean of engineering. He was the president of the university. So he and I'm going to say in the background, he understood the challenge, right? As did Dr. Pierre. So this was an important piece of why Purdue, because they had at least some understanding at the very top level of their school. There was, at my school, there was 0 black faculty, 0 black administrators, and I'm pretty sure the president didn't know we existed. So it's a clear line from the president, Art Bond, Chicago 6, that they had sometimes difficult support, but at least somebody who had an understanding of the problem. So I wanted to highlight this group of men and women. These were the people that broke the ground. The students, we take a lot of credit for doing an organization, and I certainly think that it's deserved. But a lot of the ground we walk on was paved by these men and women. James Stanford Smith from the corporate level, Art Fletcher from the government level, Art Hansen at the university level, also Dr. Pierre. So Dr. Pierre has been involved in minority engineering efforts. I didn't mention, I'm sorry. He was the first PhD in black PhD in electrical engineering in the country. He graduated in '67 with his PhD. He went to high school in Louisiana. Graduated with a degree from Notre Dame in '61 and got his PhD from Johns Hopkins in electrical engineering. And if I spent time getting everybody's resume, I'd be here all day. A lot of talent on the board, but the other guy here, Armand, he dedicated his life to increasing the minority engineering, both at Purdue and Tuskegee and Alabama State, I think. A&M. Okay. So, in fact, there's a building at Alabama A&M named after. So these are the guys that really broke the ground for us. So to summarize, the first conference, the founders had a vision of what it could be. The thing that's important to say, they made a commitment to change the way it was. And through collaboration, both locally and nationally, they had a singular focus. And then the last one, they created an organization that's lasted nearly half a century. 134 students, 28 schools. April 12th, 1975. Today, conference we just attended, 18,000 attendees. And Nestle has over 200 chapters internationally. So there's chapters in Ghana, Canada, others. I don't know all the statistics, but so you start with a 6 hour meeting, 134 people. This is what it can become. So we always have to remember that with proper focus, you can really, really accomplish many things. So, remember my question, why is history important? And I'm going to give you my answer. I'll say to you that, what's the first thing you learned when you were a child? If your parent didn't teach you nothing else, you learned your phone number, you learned your address, you learned about your home. So if we don't really, so that's your history. That's where you came from. And that's the first thing, but amongst the first thing that you're taught. At least when you're old enough to go outside and play, etc. So to me, the most important thing about this history today is our history. Any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
It's not so much a question, but on your last slide where you were presenting with the 75 today.
Yeah.
In terms of number of students, maybe not at the conference, but I think it's in the range of 40 to 45,000 students members of NESB.
Yeah. What I had on there was the attendees at the conference.
Yes,
so I didn't, the organization is much larger than that, actually. And the numbers are continuing to grow. So it's a much bigger group than this 18,000, just again for your information. So I guess I'm, number one, I'm proud to be a founding member of NESB, because I know that I contributed to something that has lasted and continues to change lives. Like it changed my life, right? So it's it was a one day meeting. And 50 years later, you would have never known me enough of that. Not that, that's all that. So, I'll turn it over. Any other questions?
I have one request.
Okay.
And that's for you to talk about your peers. You were a member of the first National Executive Board. You were the first Region 4 chair. Tell us about your peers.
So George is wanting to, he's my PR guy. So I did have, the second conference in 1976 was in Cal Poly Pomona. And so it was actually the first official NESB executive board. So I had the opportunity to serve on the board. I drafted the constitution for the organization, did a number of, I'll call it block and tackling. It's different now, so you don't even think about a membership application. That didn't exist. Constitution didn't exist. A database of members. What's that? Right. So it was an interesting time, and I was telling the table I was sitting at. So we had the pleasure of meeting several times with Ron McNair, astronaut. He was very inspirational, and again, this was in Houston in fall of '76. He gave a talk called "Be Better Than Your Best." So I remember it to this day, right? But the whole experience, going back to the time, it was a transformation, because we had a lot of work to do. Starting an organization is one thing, but now you have to fill it out. You have to get membership, you got to get structure, you have to have meetings, et cetera, et cetera. So we were moderately successful. Right? We moved the ball forward, so I'm very happy to participate.
Keith, thank you so much. I want, if we can, have Keith and the co-founders join us up here. And I move the chairs over here because I know a lot of our audience is from this side. So if you all don't mind joining me for this fireside chat, and this is a very open conversation. So if you all have questions throughout this conversation, please feel free. We have so much history sitting up here with us today, and I'm just so excited for this conversation. So I want to go ahead and get started, and what an honor it is to have some of the co-founders here. We have George Smith, we have Brian Harris, we have Edward Coleman, and of course you just heard from Keith Boswell. So let's go ahead and give all four of them a round of applause. George, I want to start with you because one of the first things you said to me when we were sitting at the table back there, you had mentioned, a lot of people talk about the Chicago Six. A lot of folks talk about the Chicago Six. You also have to remember the 134 students who were there and listened to say, hey, I want to hear what they have to say. Talk a little bit about that. You had mentioned, hey, we created the skeleton, but they created that flesh and that muscle to create Nesbia what it is today.
Well, first of all, is this on?
Is it on now?
Yeah.
So first of all, we were high school students together, middle school students together. We went to what became known as the first selective enrollment high school for Black students in the city of Chicago, Illinois. So we were used to being around other talented students. We came to Purdue, and we were surrounded by, this is on the Division I level of talented students. But when we had that first conference, and we had students coming in from all over the country, from these 28 different schools, I still get chills thinking about the level of talent, and it was clear in the way they communicated, the way they carried themselves. It was clear that we had a room full of leaders. And Keith is well aware because he's friends with some of his fellow people that put together the National Executive Board. And their careers, their career trajectory of Keith and his group is evidence of the talent that I perceived when I saw those students join us at Purdue University.
Thank you. Ryan, when you and I were talking, you had said, had it not been for Dr. Bond, who knows what would have happened? How important is it to have mentorship when you're talking to 17 and 18-year-olds, especially those who are going off to college for the first time? It is so easy to get distracted when you're out on your own. Talk a little bit about the importance of mentorship.
Well, again, as you and I had talked about, a lot of people were your experience going away to school for the first time or having that freedom, not having your parents to monitor you. A lot of people can't deal with that freedom. So we were fortunate that we had a core group of friends that, kept us grounded. We were accountable to each other. But when you talk about mentorship, Dr. Bond, who was a true visionary along with Ed Barnett, Fred Cooper. Those individuals were somebody that we can look up to and aspire to. And, not having ever met an engineer, we didn't know how we should approach things. We just knew that based on what we were hearing them say, that this is something that we wanted to do. And so that was an example that we followed. And again, the fact that we get credit for establishing the organization. Again, there were people, as Keith had laid out in his presentation, that were true visionaries. We examples, but a lot of the challenges that existed, we didn't know about because those challenges, those waters were smooth for us. And so we were able to come in and execute the plan that had already been laid out for us.
Thank you. And my next question is for you. Let's talk about the recruitment efforts. Your initial thoughts when you're thinking about April 12th of 1975, did you expect there to be 134 students? Did you not expect, what was your mindset now and seeing the amount of growth that NESB is what it is today? How are you feeling?
In 1975, it was difficult to be able to predict anything really. We invited folks, and the fact that they showed up was overwhelming. Did we expect 134? I don't know what we expected, but they were there. The fact that the number of people, I look at the whole purpose of NESB as having a positive impact upon the evolution of blacks in engineering in general. And that impact is unquestioned over the years since 1975, and I'd like to see it become even more positive as we go forward. But what we saw in 1975 was we at Purdue were not alone. That there were others had similar issues, and that we formed quite a bit of unity in terms of bringing folks together, where we all understood we had the same type of issues and we were going to work together to resolve them.
So important. And Keith, you were talking about how, I didn't know a black engineer until I became one, but I still made it through. Before I get to my first thought, my very first question for you is, what drew you to going and meeting and going to this chapter back in April 12th, 1975?
Well, I think that the main draw was support. So as I maybe mentioned, several schools had their individual societies here and there, but I'm going to say on most campuses, that was 15 to 20 people. There was only 15, 20, and that's split up along amongst all of the majors. So you have mechanicals, electricals, et cetera, et cetera. So you really didn't see, I mentioned to you that there was only one black person in my classes, for my whole career in college and actually corporate-wise as well. But it was the support and the fact that we were going to do something. Well, I knew we were going to do something big, right? Didn't know it was going to be this big, but I knew it was going to be something big because it's the talent. If you have the talent and the focus, you will be successful. Talent was there, as you always mentioned, and the focus was there. So.
Thank you. I mentioned that my dad has been a part of NESB for a while, and I know that when I've been talking to you all have said, you all keep thanking the Chicago Six and what we did, but the pathway has been paved, but it's because of you all's persistence that my dad is a part of NESB and he's bringing people with him. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I know my dad is so grateful. I know the people that he's brought on to Ethicon has been tremendous support, not only for these students who are fresh out of these engineering schools, some of which from the University of Cincinnati, some from Purdue, but also it helps him. He's able to see himself in these students of where he was years ago. My next question is, we have students who are here who probably were the age when you guys met back in grade school, back in high school. We also have people who aren't engineers, but I think everyone in this room can take away some feedbacks and notes from what you all have been through. So my next question for you all is, what is the main message you want people to leave with when they're here at this conference? What do you want them to know?
The main message is that young people can accomplish amazing things. Think about the biographies that you've heard from people that are considered great or having done great things. Most of these people established their greatness
when they were very young. So if you just think about the people who founded Microsoft, the people who founded Apple, these were young people. I went to a convention one time and a gentleman named Delano White told the audience, do not wait to be great. You can do something great right now, no matter what age you are. So that's the main message that I hope people realize.
I'll say on top of that, a lot of the stuff that William Wells is doing with H-Team Village is very important because it's reaching into the very young and encouraging youngsters that maybe nobody told them they have the capability of being successful. It's showing them, not only telling them, but showing them how they can be successful. And I think if we can take that message and spread it universally across the United States and even across the world, to make sure a lot of people who don't think they have any hope of accomplishing anything can really make some things happen for themselves and for other people. That's great. A lot of people in this room have that ability to be inspirational to some of these young people. So I think that's really a main message that comes out of this.
I think another thing to consider is the importance of teamwork, because teamwork, when you talk about organizations, the model, the NESB model, as well as, the Esteemed Village model, it's about a team, and there's no I in team. So when you talk about, all the things that an organization, particularly like Esteemed Village, is doing, and you look at, people behind the scenes that are making these things happen, like William Wells, like Chester Thompson, like Mrs. Wells, you understand, what's possible, and in being persistent. That's the thing, because as it's been, stated, a lot of times people discourage you as opposed to encourage you. So to make sure that you realize that, hey, you're capable of doing whatever you want to do, whatever you decide to do, and stick to it, and it'll happen.
I want to open it up to the floor now. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask?
What would you like to see happen in the future with NASB?
Her question was, what would you like the future, what would you like, I'm going to give you the mic because I'm going to mess up your question.
That was a great question.
What would you, as the founders of NESB, like to see happen in the future with NESB?
I have to think how long and hard about that question, not only because it's a great question, but because who's asking the question. The future of NESB needs to be on I look at NESB as a long-term, continuously increasing in terms of not only numbers, but in terms of importance to the world, long-term increasing its impact on folks. And I'd like to see it impact a lot of people that it hasn't yet reached. And I'd like to see the numbers increase in terms of NESB participation. I'd like to see everybody who can benefit from NESB actually benefit from it. And those who even peripherally benefit from it, like people who run corporations and so forth, really understand the benefits of what NESB participants bring to their organizations. And I'd like to see that on an ongoing basis and magnify as we go forward.
So similar to Ed, we increase the numbers at the beginning of our NESB mission. So what I'd like to see us do is define that number and make it clear what that number is. Now, we set a goal for 10,000 5 years ago. We're at 6,000 graduates a year now. But the real goal from the very beginning was parity. So in one word, that's what I would like to see. I would like to see us reach the state of parity, and I would like to see, selfishly, my 3 grandchildren be a part of that number that increases.
Again, when you talk about the mission of NESB, I'd like to see it, when you talk about the future, I'd like to see it really exemplify what the mission statement talks about in terms of impacting the community. Because organizations like Hastings Village, particularly the things that Hastings Village is doing, the community, the needs of community, we see it every day. You watch the news, you know what's going on, and so you see the things around you that you need change, and the things that Nesby has done in terms of a model. Certainly, it can affect what organizations like Esteem Village is doing, but in terms of what the organization can do future, looking forward, I would just like to see more community impact and community involvement because the young people, I mean, they're our future. It sounds like cliche, but they're our future. So we've got to make sure that we support them. We make sure that they have all the tools that they need to, just make the change that we want to see, the part of the change that we want to see.
Another thing that I would like to see is I would like to see the world view us, Black engineers, as great contributors to our society. And I've put forth the request to several people that I'd like to see a list of Black engineering patent holders from NESBE. I'd like to see that list created, and I'd like to see that list advertised. I'd like to see that those contributions totaled, the financial impact of our Black engineers, our inventions. I would like to see that number, and I would like the world to see that number, because I want it to be clear that there has been a return on investment. Corporations have invested in us for the last 50 years, and I will bet you when we put that total together of our economic contributions, that it would make the investment itself look minuscule.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Yeah, let me come to you.
All right. First, I'll just say thank you guys. Without you guys in particular, Nesby would never became to what it is currently. So for me personally, during my college career, I took full advantage of Nesby, even started at the regional level as well. So I know very well what Nesby is capable of and what it can do to individuals and leadership and giving them opportunities. It seems like you guys kind of spoke this into existence to what Nesby became. I'm curious to hear from your guys' perspective. Does where Nesby currently stands, does it currently meet your expectations for what you initially set the vision for Nesby, or has it exceeded your expectations?
Well, as Ed Coleman mentioned earlier, we couldn't anticipate what Nesby would be in 1975. We could only imagine, but certainly it's exceeded expectations. When you see when you go to a conference, and again, this last conference was so inspiring and eye-opening because when you see 18,000 strong, young professionals, well, not professionals, but young aspiring professionals, and the way that they, just the way that they, carried themselves, the seriousness. I mean, it's one of those things that you can't help but be inspired by, and at the same time, to say, well, does it exceed expectations? Certainly, because again, you could only, like I said, you could only imagine what an organization like this would be. So from that standpoint, certainly, I personally feel very, very proud to be part of the organization, and I expect it to be around another 50 years.
In terms of expectations, going forward, the sky's the limit as far as I can see. Nesby can accomplish a whole lot. Depends on those who are participating in the organization and how much they want to put into it, what their aspirations are, and who else they bring into the organization, and whatever partnerships they can establish with various folks. I can see Nesby being going forward, even more significant than it's been in terms of its impact on the world. I think we've got friends here from Ghana and places like that that are a demonstration of what kind of impact NESB can have geographically, but I think specifically on a person-by-person basis, it's going to be big. I can see it being big, and so what's happened so far is nothing compared to what could happen.
I'd also like to say that I never would have imagined that we could reach Africa. We have a gentleman in our audience right now who is from Ghana. He is our NESB ambassador from Africa. Stand up, Billy. Billy Jacob James. So I just say he's influenced me so much that when I think about my own personal family history, where are we from? We're from Alabama. Okay, I don't have any connection beyond that, but I have decided the only person who has ever called me from Africa is this man right here. So I'm from Ghana from now on.
Thank you.
That was a great question. Given that the goal, what was it, 10,000 by when? 2025, we got 2 years. Well, I say we, I'm not part of NESB, I'm just married to one of the guys, that's all. But I do want to ask, what change in the Black community do you think could facilitate achieving that goal the quickest?
I was having a conversation with one of these two gentlemen, I forget which one, maybe both of them, yesterday, and I was talking about the Chicago public school system and how a lot of youngsters don't really get exposed to a lot of scientific stuff, science education, third graders, fourth graders in Chicago public school system, for whatever reason, which tells me that CPS has not made it a priority and or don't have the capabilities, or some combination thereof. I think that to meet goals like that, there's got to be a concerted effort that goes beyond NESB, but convincing others who have some ability to control things and make priorities, to make those priorities and make education in science, math too, but science in particular, make it as much of a priority as possible, so that people get interested in it and then they may pursue those careers, especially if they know that that's something that they can do instead of it being a mystery.
So in terms of what change needs to happen, I guess I'm going to say this, it might be a little uncomfortable, but we need to take responsibility for our children. We need to take responsibility for our children. Chicago Public Schools notwithstanding. But there's so much information that's readily available. I mean, you don't need the Chicago school system to validate and educate. But in most cases, many cases, I won't say most, many cases, number one, the parents are struggling to put food on the table, right? Or the mom is struggling to put food on the table. So to me, if we're able to take responsibility for our children, I'm a little more mature than some in the room, and it's unimaginable to me that my dad did not show. He worked. My dad worked 2 jobs, but there was never a day that I didn't know it was my job to go to school, learn the lessons, go to college, and be better than him. Never a day. And so in my mind, and because it doesn't take any money to decide you're going to take care of your children, right? It simply doesn't. You have to show up and provide them with the standard that you expect, right? There's no rocket science to it. We expect you, because that's the way we grew up. They expected us to go to school. My high school, I went to a somewhat controversial high school. There was, it was predominantly a white school, and we were 10% of the students there. And did they want us to go to their school? Absolutely not. In fact, during my high school period, there was a riot, right? We had to call the National Guard to come get us out of school. Right? This was on Monday. Wednesday, the National Guard came, got us opened up school, and do you think for 1 second my parents didn't expect me to go back? No, it wasn't even a discussion. Keep going back there because your job is to get this education. And so responsibility for our kids, as as a father particularly, it's my job to make sure that I provide a standard for my kids.
And just to piggyback on what Keith was just saying, we're surrounded by the young people that are, participating in this community STEM day, and they're the primary reason why we want to make sure that we are supportive of them and supportive of organizations like the STEAM Village, because again, they're our future. And when you talk about increasing the numbers, it starts with them. And we have to be supportive of these organizations because, again, these kids, last night I had the privilege of seeing them in their environment where they were being entertained by this gentleman over here who's, to me, is brilliant. But they want to do well. But as Keith said, it's our responsibility as their mentors and their role models and examples to make sure that we insist that they exceed and insist that they do the things that you're supposed to do. Not that you get extra credit for doing it, but it's like these are the things you're supposed to do to be a productive human being in this society. Period.
Thank you.
Yes, and the responsibility of parenthood doesn't end after your kids are grown. My belief is that responsibility continues into grandparenthood. Parents that we have, those that are successful, they're working very hard, and they need help. So we are fortunate that our grandchildren live only 4 minutes away from us. And so we feel like that's the number one priority for us in our retired life, is to be there for our grandkids as well. I went on a personal mission when our grandson was knee high to expose him to what I consider to be the most inspirational role models for engineers, and those are the Black inventors. And what I like to joke and say is that while other kids were being read stories about Mother Goose and Snow White, I was reading about Black inventors to my grandson. And we are fortunate today to have our oldest grandchild be accepted into the chemical engineering program at the University of Illinois. Now that makes me happy.
I just want to thank you all so much. I know we are running out of time, but let's go ahead and give a huge round of applause to our co-founders. And I want to take this time now to introduce Billy from Ghana to talk more about the efforts of NESB on an international front.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much to the Chicago 6 and Nesby founders. I'm glad to finally meet the one who drew the constitution. Okay. Also, the Nesby logo was designed by George Easton, right? Yeah. And the logo is everything to us. I hope we will have time to explain it so that you understand why it means so much. Thank you. So I'm going to run quickly because there have been a lot of talking. So I just want to go very fast. Please, you can go to the next slide. This will just give you the landscape of STEM education in Ghana. And these are some of my members or students that I've been working with from different schools in Nesby chapters here. Please, you can go ahead. So this is me, Nesby member, IEEE co-founder, Cedar Freak, and a sports personality as well. Yep. Thank you. And so this was when Nesby gave me a highlight during the Black History Month this February. Yes, please. Yeah. So the Ministry of Education in Ghana has prioritized STEM education. But before I go on, I would like to take this opportunity to also introduce Pearl. Pearl is also coming from Ghana. I invited her. She is at the University of Kansas, and she's studying electrical engineering. Yeah. Thank you. And the Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the Ministry of Science, Environment Science, Technology, and Innovation, make sure that STEM education is being practiced in Ghana, but with limited resources. And yep, please you can go on. And this is where NSP and our activities come in to supplement what the government is doing. That's right. This was just the recent convention in Atlanta where I made a Chicago 6. Beautiful, that's good. So in Ghana and within the African continent, in Ghana alone we have 80 PCI chapters, with 27 of them registered online as a recognized chapter. The rest, we work with them. We work with them because we don't have so much resource to be able to take care of them, so that we don't have too much pressure. At the same time, we find a way of engaging the students in STEM education. We have 16 collegiate chapters. We have one junior chapter in Kenya, as well as collegiate chapter in Kenya. I've been there twice to visit them. We have professional chapters in the Gambia, Rwanda, and Nigeria. Then two links Nesby collaborative PCI chapters also in Ghana. Then we have Nesby chapter in Rwanda, which are not registered yet. But this year we're going to have the Nesby Rwanda conference in September. And we're going to use that opportunity to register them also online. This you can go. And these are some of the activities we've been doing. I don't want to run through it. Let's go to the next one. And some of their achievements include making sure the science principles or the theories in the textbooks are now practicalized after school programs. When the teachers do their job by introducing the children to the theory, we go in as a supplementary officers to go and make sure that we give an added on by engaging the student in hands-on activities. And that's all over there. Next. And these are some of the pictures. Please, you can skip through. Yeah. We also hold conferences, just as we do in the States. So out of that, I also get, or to say, establish my journey on the African continent. As Nesby Africa, DJ Billy is just my full name. The guy James Billy tour. So I do the tour on the African continent, moving from one country to the other, preaching engineering. So you can also call me engineering evangelist. Thank you. Yes, so this is our trip in Rwanda, the first conference to mark this 6th year of Nesby, no, 8th year of Nesby presence in Rwanda. We had our first conference with 25 students. Please, you can go ahead. Then, this is my work with Seed Africa. Africa has great potentials and talents, but we don't have too much engagement when we come to STEM activities. Yes, we go to school, all right. We read the theories, we get, but we don't get the full hands-on activities during school days. And this has caused a gap to be created. And companies in Ghana don't have the time to rebuild anyone who have missed the hands-on training. But just take a handful, work on them, get their job done, and then they can continue with their profit-making activity. Now, COVID-19 was really the defining moment for us in the motherland. We're cut off from so many activities. No school for 8 months to 9 months, and it was terrible. That was when Seed Africa was born, and that was when I first got in touch with Mr. Wills the following year to join AC Virtual Camp. Just let me read something back. Please go back. This is where the challenge is. One step backwards. No.
It's not letting me go back. Let me try this. Sorry, I got it.
I want to tell you about how COVID-19 impacted us. And well, if I'm missing any word or misleading the audience here, he can help me out. It was typically about competition. Access was the main issue that we had. The people who have access to the tools to be able to join online activities were benefiting more than those who never had or did not have anyone to get them those things. And that was a true definition of education at that moment. That education was no more a right, but was now a privilege. So it's a privilege for you to have certain equipment to be able to continue schooling within that 9 months being at home. And it was terrible. Yeah. Any luck?
Your mouse is locking up.
Oh, sorry.
Your mouse is locking up. Yeah. He should go
Yeah. Is he on?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on my mic.
Thank you very much. So I was reading this particular part. COVID proved to us that there is no longer, education is no more longer a right, but a privilege and a competition. So who get ahead of who, and for not being developed. And that was our issue. Well, is this right? Am I telling a lie? Not at all right. Thank you. And, oh, okay. 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 So please, next.
You use this one. Yeah. This controls.
So after the coverage, we shifted our activities online, and thanks to Mr. Ross, the next, we received this Raspberry Pi, 10 of them. We received other items from Mr. Ross with an Eastern Village, which gave originally 10 students, but we ended up imparting 15 students because they had brothers and sisters that were at home who were studying alongside with them. We had time constraint as well. When it's morning here, it was afternoon there. So we could only do the little we can up to 10 p.m. and then we are off from the online class. But it was a great experience for the 15 students. Those who are in high school, there were about 9 of them. They are now all in the universities studying different type of engineering courses in 4 universities in Ghana. The 6 middle school students are now in high school, also pursuing science. And it means that we have had a good number of impacts on our students. That's good. And so I'm looking forward for collaboration to continue with the National Society of Black Engineers promoting STEM diversity and inclusion. As Seed Africa, empowering African youth in STEM, 18 Village fostering innovation. Please next. And the way forward is overcoming obstacles and creating opportunities. Challenge face limited resource access and time. Alone we can do little, but together we can do much. Helen Keller, right? Good. Please next. And empowering Ghana's future together we can to the next stage. Next. Thank you very much. And I would like to introduce our next speaker who is online.
I didn't get it.
Copy. You couldn't get it. Okay. So let me play a video instead of him talking. While he gets the video, this is going to wrap, and then we've got a food truck out here with barbecue, and she's got some wonderful specials. Bless you, bless you. He's going to show a quick 4-minute video of the Innovation Hub in Ghana, and then we'll get ready for our meeting.
What is happening in other parts of the world, the US, Europe, compared to what is happening in Ghana. There's a sense of an AI strategy over there. Companies pushing a lot of investment into that. And the differential, I thought it was important to do something to grow the talent pipeline and close the gap in terms of opportunity and access. Looking at this hyper-exponential growth in the adoption of AI, in new innovation in that space, and looking at the differential between what is happening in other parts of the world, the US, Europe, compared to what is happening in Ghana, there's a sense of an AI strategy over there. Companies pushing a lot of investment into that. And the differential, I thought it was important to do something to grow the talent pipeline and close the gap in terms of opportunity and access. That is exactly why we have this ADN, Robotics and AI Innovation Hub. In such a time as this, it is to provide a platform, an entryway into a community of collaborators who will invent and innovate and solve problems relevant to not only our communities, our nation, Africa, and to the ends of the earth. That is why we're launching this AI Innovation Hub. It will be a hub for the liberation of the creative and innovative energies of our teeming youth. And as you can tell, this is a small space. As big as it may seem, it's a small space. We want a scalable solution. So this is more like an entryway. There's a lot that is going to be happening in the metaverse or the omniverse. We hang in a lot of what we do on the NVIDIA Omniverse platform, and we'll continue to grow and expand in that area.
The name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
ahead and close them out. It's up there.
Hello? Yeah. So, that is coming up.